This video is brought to you by The Deadly Path, the unique fast-paced building management in roguelike RTS. Stick around to the end to find out more. This week on Unpacked, Nintendo has dropped all the details on the Switch 2, including a release date, and possibly set a new precedent for video game pricing. Nightdive Studios is looking to start remastering cult classic PS3 and Xbox 360 games, and we unfortunately have more layoffs to cover, yet again. It has been a long wait, but all the details on the Nintendo Switch 2 are finally here. It releases on June 5th, 2025, will cost $450 US, and will have plenty of new games to play, including a brand new Mario Kart World. Pre-orders officially go live on April 9th. The Nintendo Direct showcased all the new bells and whistles of the console, including a 7.9-inch LCD screen, which features HDR support and frame rates up to 120Hz, up to 4K 60fps while docked, 6.5 hours of battery life depending on the game you're playing, 256 gigs of internal storage, and of course, the fancy new Joy-Cons, which can double as a mouse for games like Civilization 7. And From Software announced a brand new game called The Duskbloods, which is a PvPvE for up to 8 players that will be exclusive to Switch 2. While it is multiplayer focused, everyone was pretty meh on Night Rain as well until they got to preview it. So I'll reserve judgment for now because it looked pretty damn cool in the trailer. After the event was over, however, more details about the Switch 2 started to come out that had people a little less excited. The big piece of news being that Mario Kart World will cost $80 at launch, even more if you want a physical copy of the game. Confusingly, this seems to be a case-by-case basis though, as the newly announced Donkey Kong Bonanza game is priced at $70, while Nintendo Switch 2 ports of games like Tears of the Kingdom, Kirby and the Forgotten Lands, and more will cost $80. Some of these updates will also be free if you're subscribed to Nintendo Switch's online service. Regardless, Nintendo has officially broken the seal on charging $80 for games at release, and that's got the online gaming sphere pretty riled up. A few weeks ago, we were talking about analysts predicting that Grand Theft Auto 6 would be $100 at launch, and I might be eating some crow, as I truly didn't think a publisher would be bold enough to raise prices on games again so quickly. Games being $70 at launch only started this generation, after 2 generations of games costing $60. It's fair to say that games should cost more than they already do due to inflation, but at the same time, wages haven't kept up with inflation. Big gaming companies are still overpaying their executives, and the wealth generated by major titles isn't exactly finding its way down to the people making them. There's all sorts of justifications you could give for games being priced higher than they already are. The amount of hours of entertainment the price of admission provides you, how expensive it has gotten to make games, making sure artists are paid what they deserve. But I'm wondering where the line is for the average consumer before they're unwilling to pay. Not to mention locking entire classes of people out of games entirely, as prices continue to rise. Having physical games priced even higher isn't going to help preservation efforts either, something Nintendo is notoriously not great at. If Mario Kart cost $80, and Grand Theft Auto 6 potentially costs $100, what's to stop companies from raising the prices from there even further? Are we going to be paying half the cost of a console for Call of Duty at some point? It's an interesting conversation that has no clear answers, and is probably only something that will be decided by the market itself, as gaming companies continue to test the waters and how high they can push prices up. Regardless, ready or not, $80 video games are officially here. Thanks, Nintendo? Nightdive Studios, who are about to release a highly anticipated remaster of System Shock 2, say they're ready to start remastering games from the PS3 and 360 era. The studio has been on a roll lately with remastering a ton of different games, including the Turok series, System Shock 1, Star Wars Dark Forces, Blade Runner, and many more. Studio head Stephen Kick and director of business Larry Cooperman talked with Video Games Chronicle about the intricacies of beginning to think about remastering games that only lived on the PS3 or Xbox 360. It's well known that the PS3's architecture was notoriously difficult to work with, and it hasn't exactly made preserving games from that console an easy task. This is a little bit of a different thing, but when the PS3 first came out, it was backwards compatible with PS2, said Kick. And after a while, they were like, well, it's really expensive because we're literally putting in the hardware for both systems in order for that to happen. Again, there wasn't an elegant solution where the PS3 hardware could run PS2 games. It just was not compatible. Kick indicated that while it would be challenging for them to accomplish, he believes the studio can do it and would adapt their proprietary engine to make it work. They weren't ready to talk about any upcoming projects, but used the PS3 exclusive Haze as an example of a game that they might work on, including working with the original developers to get it done. There's a lot of ground for Nightdive to cover from the PS3 and 360 era, so I hope they get the chance to do it for a bunch of different titles. When it comes to preserving old titles, Microsoft has done a really good job with their backwards compatibility program, making a lot of Xbox 360 and Xbox titles available through the Microsoft Store and playable natively on Xbox Series S and X. On the PlayStation side of things, many PS3 titles are available to play through cloud streaming via PlayStation Plus, but that's still not very accessible to a lot of people. So many great PS3 games like the Resistance series, the MotorStorm games, Infamous 1 and 2, Killzone, and more are all locked to the PS3 platform. And yes, I know there's other ways to access them, but we can't discuss that here. It would be nice to see some of those games get the remaster treatment and brought to the PC or other platforms as well. So I do hope Nightdive is given the opportunity to work on some of the cult classics that have never left their home platform, especially with both PlayStation and Xbox embracing the PC for their exclusive titles in recent years. Games like Crackdown, Viva Pinata, Lair, The Darkness, Heavenly Sword, The Outfit, and Condemned 2 all deserve to live on in this writer's opinion, just to name a few. What games would you like to see get remasters or updated ports from the 360 and PS3 era? The layoffs that have been hitting the industry pretty much weekly at this point still haven't let up. This week alone saw Cyan Studios, the makers of Myst, let go of about half their studio. Eidos Montreal had to lay off 75 developers, Crystal Dynamics laid off 17 people, publisher PlayOn laid off 40 people, and I fear there's only going to be more now with Trump's ridiculous tariffs going into effect, which is going to cause people to have even less money to spend on luxuries like video games. There's not much else to say on this topic that hasn't already been said, but I wanted to make sure I at least shared the news. It really is just about every day that we hear about layoffs and studio closures in the industry, and all signs point to things not getting much better in the near term. And that's all for this week on Unpacked. Next week we'll be changing things up a little bit, as I got a fun request from someone in the audience to do a list video talking about a bunch of different Souls-like games I would recommend outside of the ones made by From Software. With 2 brand new ones releasing this past week alone, with the first Berserker Kazan and AI Limit, and even more on the way like Wuchan Fallen Feathers, seems like a good time to make some recommendations for games in the genre to try if you're looking to break into it or just want a fresh experience. I could also just use a break from all the more negative news for 1 week.
This video is brought to you by The Deadly Path, the unique fast-paced building management and roguelike RTS. In order to thrive in this underworld, you'll need to gather grim materials, construct diabolical defenses, and appease the rage of the demonic dread deities. I'm not sure if you've ever seen an angry dread deity, but let me tell you, they can be a real pain in the you-know-what. I'm talking about my ass. When you're not groveling at the hooves of these cosmic elder gods, you'll be expanding your base, upgrading your servants, and defending your domain from attackers and other unseen threats. What kinds of unseen threats, you ask? Well, first there's the dickheads, then there's the real and also 7 little sitting on top of making all sorts of Head on over to Steam to pick up The Deadly Path today, because these dread deities are restless, and you wouldn't like them when they're restless.
Thanks for watching Unpacked this week. Sorry it was a little bit shorter than usual. I think I might be coming down with something. If you notice, my voice sounds a little bit weird. But I appreciate everybody that's been tuning in as I've transitioned the show to being weekly. It's been a lot of fun making this. And hopefully next week you'll like the updated video, just kind of doing something different for 1 week.